The night arrives not with thunder, but with a sigh, a long, slow exhale that drapes itself over the quiet earth. The way silk falls across skin, the way breath slips between thoughts. The world softens, and you soften with it. A river hums its ancient lullaby, steady, patient, unhurried. And if you listen closely enough, you can almost feel that sound move through your chest, matching the rhythm of your own heart, guiding it toward stillness. There is no rush now, no need to think or plan or remember, only this slow drifting into comfort, this gentle returning to yourself. Above the horizon, two small lights flicker, faint at first, then clearer, brighter, like twin stars remembering how to shine. They do not need names, for names belong to the living, and these lights have already crossed the border where all names fade into light. They move together through the soft fields of night, whispering in a language that is older than words, a language made of older than words, a language made of laughter remembered, of sun on bare shoulders, of rain falling softly on summer grass. You are not part of their story, not yet, only a quiet witness at the edge of the dream, watching as they find one another again in this boundless calm. Breathe in and breathe out. You are safe here. They are safe here. The night holds everyone equally. The crickets sing like tiny clocks counting down to peace. And the air around you glows with the quiet shimmer of forgiveness. Windows filled with silver light, the ghost of a song curling from a record that spins without a hand to guide it. The melody older now, slower, softer, a tune of release rather than longing. You can almost see the dust suspended in the light like 1,000 sleeping memories, unmoving, content to simply be. And through this haze of moonlit air, the girls wander, their feet barely touching the ground, their laughter floating like the echo of bells carried by wind across an open field. "Do you remember?" one of them whispers. The swing that creaked in the wind, the voice calling us home. And the other answers yes, her tone the color of dawn. Soft and trembling, yes, I remember, though I do not remember sadness, only the sound of leaves and the warmth of light, and the feeling of being found. And somewhere deep within you a small warmth blooms, not of sorrow, but of recognition. The quiet knowing that all things return to peace eventually. You breathe again, the world gentler, and you feel the edges of your body melt into the dark, your limbs heavy, your thoughts dim, your mind floating between waking and dream, guided by those two distant stars who once were lost, and now are home. Everything that once frightened them has dissolved. Everything that once chased you has grown still. Because the night has room for every heart, every story, every breath. And as you drift further, deeper, softer into this ocean of quiet, you understand that these lights above you are not only theirs, they are yours too. Pieces of the same endless sky. So rest now. Let the rhythm of the world cradle you the way the earth cradles the fallen leaf, the way time cradles memory, the way sleep cradles everything that dare to let go. The path unfolds beneath a silver mist, and the two lights drift closer to the shape of a house that waits quietly at the heart of the field. Its walls shimmer like glass remembering sunlight, its door half open as if time itself has been holding its breath. You step closer in thought and find that the air here smells faintly of cedar and rain, the scent of something once loved. The floor creaks softly, but not with threat, only with memory stretching in its sleep. The girls move. First, their light spilling across the threshold, revealing rooms that are both old and new, filled not with things but with feelings, laughter pressed into corners, songs folded into the curtains, tears dried into the dust that glows under us. Moonlight. Every sound here is gentle, every shadow round and harmless. You can feel the house watching kindly, waiting for each visitor to set down the heaviness they carried from the world outside. Breathe in and breathe out. You, exhaling a century of sighs. Upstairs a hallway hums with quiet voices, 1,000 overlapping whispers that sound almost like waves, almost like wind through leaves. It is not frightening, only vast, like standing inside someone's heartbeat. The first girl drifts toward an open window, where the glass is cool and clear. She looks out at the endless prairie, a reflection soft beside the stars. And she smiles, because she can see herself at last not as loss, but as light. The second wanders through a doorway of flickering candles and finds a mirror that does not reflect faces but moments. Hands reaching, a swing turning in wind, the golden hush before laughter. She touches the surface and the images ripple, blending into calm water, and when it stills again her fear has dissolved. They understand now that this house was never haunted by pain but filled with everything that needed forgiving. You follow them deeper, room to room, breath to breath, feeling the slow unwinding, old tensions in your own chest. Each door opens into softer air. Each step releases a little more of what you didn't know you were holding. Somewhere a piano plays a few forgotten notes, and the melody circles the stairwell like a ribbon of smoke, wrapping around the banister, rising and fading, a lullaby for anyone who has ever been lost. And you realize that the house itself is breathing with you, its timbers expanding and contracting, its windows pulsing faintly with the same rhythm as your pulse. Nothing here is separate. Everything that once echoed now sings, and in this harmony you find rest, deeper, slower, quieter, as the night folds closer and the light of the two girls mingles until it is impossible to tell one from the other, or from the glow that now surrounds you entirely. This is what healing feels like, not sudden, not loud, but gradual, like dust settling in a beam of morning light. The house hums one last time, a long tender sound that might be saying thank you or simply good night. And then the air stills, leaving only the sound of your breathing and the hush of the field beyond the walls. Everything is safe. Everything is at peace. When the door finally opens again, it does so without sound. Have learned silence, and the air that pours through is cool and scented with wild grass, drawing the two lights and you toward the meadow beyond. The ground glows faintly, as if every blade of grass remembers the touch of starlight, and the sky above stretches forever, deep and calm, sprinkled with constellations that seem to breathe in rhythm with your own slow inhalations. The girls move first, drifting across the field, their laughter no longer echoing but blending with the wind until it is only music, a hymn of release. You follow at a distance, your steps light, your thoughts softer than mist. And with each movement, The memories that once clung to your shoulders loosen and fall away, like petals carried off by night air. Breathe in thick scent of the meadow, warm and green. Breathe out everything that is finished, and notice how the stars seem to shimmer brighter with each breath you release, as though the sky is thanking you for letting go. The world feels wide yet weightless, the line between earth and heaven blurred into one endless horizon of peace. And somewhere nearby a small stream murmurs the same melody you heard in the house, the one that sounded like forgiveness. You kneel beside it and touch the surface. It is cool. I do it. Alive. And the ripples move outward in circles that never truly end, carrying away the last fragments of fear, the last traces of old sorrow. The two girls kneel with you, their forms transparent now, luminous, their faces calm, and one of them reaches out as though to trace the pattern of stars on the water, whispering that all things are remembered, all things are forgiven, and in that whisper you feel yourself grow lighter, your mind opening like a window to night air. The weight in your window to night air, chest replaced by space and warmth. Above, the constellations tilt and rearrange, two bright points drifting closer until they touch and merge into one radiant shape. A new star born from everything that once was separate. This light fills the meadow, touches your skin, seeps through your heartbeat until even your thoughts hum with the same quiet radiance. You realize that this is what peace sounds like. Not the absence of sound, but the perfect balance of all sounds. The heartbeat of the universe matching your own. The girls smile once more, their outlines thinning into starlight until they are only shimmer, only the gentle pulse of energy moving through the sky, and you watch without sadness because you know they are home, because you know that every ending is another beginning, because you can feel that home inside yourself now. Breathe again, slower, deeper, and let the light settle into your body the way dew settles onto leaves before dawn. Everything glows faintly before dawn. Everything glows faintly. Grass, the stream, your fingertips, your eyelids, and you close your eyes not to shut it out, but to hold it closer, to let it soak through the spaces behind your ribs, into the quiet center of you that has been waiting for this peace all along. Somewhere far away, the first color of morning begins to rise, soft and pale, a promise rather than an arrival, and the world pauses between night and day, between memory and possibility, between heartbeat and dream. And in that pause you find rest so complete that it feels like the universe breathing you, instead of the other way around. Sleep begins not as a fall, but as a floating, a drifting through the gentle gravity of love itself, down and down through layers of comfort, through warmth, through safety, through endless blue silence, until there is nothing left but calm. And you sleep, deeply, peacefully, the meadow dissolving into light, the stars into breath, the breath into stillness, and stillness into the sweetest, most enduring rest. The light that comes with morning does not hurry. It unfolds slowly, as though remembering how to be day, a pale gold shimmer spreading across the horizon, brushing the edges of the meadow, warming the last traces of mist until they rise and vanish into air. You are still lying there, weightless in the hush that follows dreaming, and the warmth that touches your skin feels less like sunlight and more like kindness itself. Somewhere, very far away, a bird tries its first note of the day, and that sound ripples through you like the smallest smile. The world is waking, but you do not need to yet. Dawn can arrive without pulling you from rest. It can simply stand nearby, watching over you, whispering that everything is all right now. The two lights that guided you are no longer visible, yet you sense them folded into the new brightness, part of the rhythm that keeps your heart steady, part of the quiet assurance that morning always follows night. Breathe in the faint sweetness of air after darkness. Breathe out the last remnants of effort, of remembering, of needing to understand. All questions have turned into light, all searching into stillness, and there is nothing left to chase or mend. The house behind you is only an outline, now, gentle against the softening sky, and you realize that even the echoes have gone quiet, because they have finally found their rest within you. The field stretches endless and calm, each blade of grass jeweled with dew, each drop catching the newborn sun and scattering it back as 1,000 miniature stars, reminders that what was once separate is now whole, and in that wholeness you can feel gratitude blooming, subtle as a pulse beneath your ribs, spreading warmth through every part of you, reminding you that you have come through darkness and found ease, that you have learned to breathe again in peace. There is no need to open your eyes yet, no need to move. The world will wait, patient as ever. Let yourself drift a little deeper into that golden quiet, the boundary between sleep and waking blurred into something sacred and calm. Every breath is an act of forgiveness. Every heartbeat an echo of love that endures, and as the light grows stronger you realize it does not blind or burn, it simply holds you, the way water holds a leaf, the way time holds every story, until it becomes part of the larger song. And that song hums through you now, low and steady, promising that you are safe, you are seen, you are part of everything that rests in peace. So stay here as long as you wish, wrapped in the warmth of dawn, letting the body repair, the mind renew, the soul remember its own brightness. There is nothing left to do, nowhere to go, only this perfect still moment between the last dream and the first word of day. The light deepens, turns honey soft, and even as the world stirs, you remain floating in the cradle of quiet, the breath of morning rising and falling around you like a tide. And you sleep still, gently, completely, every cell learning the language of calm, every thought dissolving into the hum of life continuing. And when it is time, much later, you will wake naturally, light as air, heart unburdened, eyes clear, but for now, beloved, eyes clear. Listener, you are wrapped in peace, the night behind you transformed into blessing, the dawn before you infinite and kind. Rest now, breathe now, sleep now. All is well. The light that comes with morning does not hurry. It unfolds slowly as though remembering how to be day. A pale gold shimmer spreading across the horizon, brushing the edges of the meadow, warming the last traces of mist until they rise and vanish into air. You are still lying there, weightless in the hush that follows dreaming, and the warmth that touches your skin feels less like sunlight and more like kindness itself. Somewhere, very far away. A bird, that sound ripples through you like the smallest smile. The world is waking, but you do not need to yet. Dawn can arrive without pulling you from rest. It can simply stand nearby, watching over you, whispering that everything is all right now. The two over you, whispering that everything is all right now. Lights that guided you are no longer visible, yet you sense them folded into the new brightness. Part of the rhythm that keeps your heart steady. Part of the quiet assurance that morning always follows night. Breathe in the faint sweetness of air. After darkness, breathe out the last remnants of effort, of remembering, of needing to understand. All questions have turned into light, all searching into stillness, and there is nothing left to chase or mend. The house behind you is only an outline, now gentle against the softening sky, and you realize that even the echoes have gone quiet because they have finally found their rest within you. The field stretches, endless and calm, each blade of grass jeweled with dew, each drop catching the newborn sun and scattering it back as 1,000 miniature stars, reminders that what was once separate is now whole. And in that wholeness, you can feel gratitude blooming, subtle as a pulse beneath your ribs, spreading warmth through every part of you, reminding you that you have come through darkness and found ease, that you have learned to breathe again in peace. There is no need to open your eyes yet, no need to move. The world will wait, patient as ever. Let yourself drift a little deeper into that golden quiet, the boundary between sleep and waking blurred into something sacred and calm. Every breath is an act of forgiveness, every heartbeat an echo of love that endures. And as the light grows stronger, you realize it does not blind or burn. It simply holds you, the way water holds a leaf, the way time holds every story until it becomes part of the larger song. And that song hums through you now, low and steady, promising that you are safe, you are seen, you are part of everything that rests in peace. So stay here as long as you wish, wrapped in the warmth of dawn, letting the body repair, the mind renew, the soul remember its own brightness. There is nothing left to do, nowhere to go, only this perfect still moment between the last dream and the first word of day. The light deepens, turns honey soft, and even as the world stirs you, remain floating in the cradle of quiet, the breath of morning rising and falling around you like a tide. And you sleep, still, gently, completely, every cell learning the language of calm, every thought dissolving into the hum of life continuing. And when it is time, much later, you will wake naturally, light as air, heart unburdened, eyes clear. But for now, beloved, listener, you are wrapped in peace, the night behind you transformed into blessing, the dawn before you infinite and kind. Rest now, breathe now, sleep now, all is well.
Welcome to tonight's storytelling hour. Take a deep breath and relax your shoulders. Outside, snow falls gently, each pure white flake brushing the rooftops and empty streets, then melting silently. The city sleeps under soft yellow lights, only the cold wind's breath slipping through the narrow alleys remains. Amidst this scene, there is a tiny girl, her golden hair tangled, hands purple from the cold, clutching an old wooden box. Inside are matchsticks, small, yet her whole world. Tonight is New Year's Eve. Every home has a fire, laughter filling the air. but the girl is alone, surrounded by white snow and darkness. Let us listen to her story, slowly, warmly. Chapter 1. The Days Before New Year's Eve. Close your eyes for a moment. Hear the wind whispering outside the window. Snowflakes. The city seems wrapped in a soft white blanket, cold yet peaceful. In this world, a small attic nestles in a corner of an old street. The roof has sagged, walls are damp, and the smell of cooking smoke lingers. There, a girl sits curled up by a cracked window, looking out at the white night. Her name is Anna, an 8-year-old, small as the last leaf clinging to a winter branch. Anna's mother left long ago. Only her grandmother remained, the one who lulled her to sleep with gentle fairy tales, with warm, thin hands. She was Anna's only safe place, but now, her grandmother too had gone to the distant world, leaving her with an alcoholic father, his breath reeking of spirits, his shouts harsh. Each night, when her father fell into a drunken sleep, Anna quietly opened her eyes, staring at the dark ceiling, listening to the wind whistling through the cracks. She remembered her mother's hands, her grandmother's voice, the days she was held in warm embraces. That feeling now felt as distant as a dream. She was so small in this vast, cold world. Outside, winter approached. People prepared for New Year's, hanging lights, laying out cakes, cleaning homes. Windows glowed, fires danced, children laughed, excitement in every sound. But in Anna's attic, only darkness and the wind sneaking through cracks remained. Her father sat at the table, sipping bitter liquor. Seeing her, he frowned, his voice hoarse. "Tomorrow, sell all these matches. Don't come back empty-handed. Got it?" Anna nodded, barely whispering a tiny breath of an answer. She knew that failure meant another beating, yet in her eyes, there was no blame, only fear, mixed with the resignation of a child accustomed to suffering. That night, the wind blew harder. Windows rattled like sorrowful beats for the winter. Anna wrapped herself in a torn blanket, curling up, but the cold still seeped through, biting her skin. She blew warm air on her lips and gazed at the sky. Snow swirled under the silver moonlight. Beautiful, yet lonely. She whispered, "Grandma, if you were here, what story would you tell me tonight?" No answer came. Only the wind, falling snow, and the fragile breath of the long night. Her world was so silent, Anna could hear her own heartbeat, small, trembling, but still trying, refusing to fade. Outside, a stray cat passed, leaving faint footprints in the thick snow. Moonlight touched its fur, making it sparkle like a falling star. Anna watched, innocent eyes full of longing. Perhaps she imagined the cat would find warmth, a hearth, someone to stroke it, like her grandmother used to stroke her hair, and Anna had only the emptiness and the wind. The night wore on, the clock ticking softly like the footsteps of time. Each tick, a breath of winter drawing closer to New Year's Eve. Anna stayed awake, opening her small box, the matchsticks inside, fragile yet bright when struck. Each match was a dream, a glimmer of hope, a flame she believed could chase away the darkness. She gazed at them, then gently closed the lid as if hiding her most precious treasure. Outside, snow continued falling, softly and persistently. Moonlight touched Anna's cold pink cheeks, making her look like an angel lost in winter. She did not know that tomorrow night, New Year's Eve, would be her final journey. A journey beautiful, sorrowful, and full of light. For now, everything had just begun. The little girl still sat by the window, eyes softly closed, imagining her grandmother's voice telling stories. Her grandmother's warm voice echoed in her mind, blending with the wind like a winter lullaby. Once there was a little flame. No matter how strong the wind blew, it still burned, because within that flame there was love, faith, and a little bit of magic. Anna smiled faintly, resting her head against the window, hands still clutching the wooden box. Outside, the sky seemed to wrap her in a thin, gentle blanket of snow. That night, everything was silent, as if the world was holding its breath to hear the dream of a tiny girl. And in that dream, a little flame danced, illuminating the dark space around her. Chapter 2. On the snow-covered street, the night sky draped over the northern city like a thick blanket of white snow. Flakes fell slowly, drifting through pale streetlights, melting on the ground, leaving faint sparkling trails. The world seemed still, only the wind whispered through old walls, like winter's endless sigh. At the end of a narrow alley, a tiny figure stepped out. Anna, the little match girl, in a worn thin coat, bare feet in the snow, hands clutching her old wooden box full of matches. Each step left a depression in the snow, quickly covered by fresh flakes, as if the world itself wanted to swallow her. This tiny being struggling to survive the harsh winter night. From the shabby house behind, her drunken father's voice still echoed. "Sell all those matches, or don't come back." The wooden door slammed, leaving Anna with darkness, wind, and nameless fear. She pulled her thin scarf tighter around her neck. The wind hit her face, burning her skin, hair tousled by misty breath. Her purple fingers trembled, holding the box tightly. She began walking along the main street, where wealthy people hurried home, arms full of gifts, laughing and chatting. No one glanced back at the shivering little girl. "Please, buy some matches, just a few pennies." Her voice, small and trembling, was swallowed by the wind and crunch of snow beneath boots. No one answered. They feared the cold, the poverty, even the innocent gaze of a child that made them feel guilty. Anna continued. She knocked on doors, stood under eaves, hoping for a tiny miracle. But one door closed, then another. The city centre gradually lit up as night fell. A giant Christmas tree was erected, adorned with hundreds of sparkling ornaments. Church bells mingled with music, a warm carol resonating through the snowy sky. Through lit windows, she saw tables laden with food, fireplaces dancing with warmth, children laughing warmly with parents. The scent of baked goods, roasted meat, and wine floated in the air. But Anna only had the smell of cold wind and snow. She pressed her small hand to a frosty window, leaving purple fingerprints. In that moment, her eyes shone, as if all the warmth in the world appeared before her, separated by a fragile pane of glass. But the people inside drew the curtains. The light vanished, and her world sank back into darkness. Anna exhaled, her breath turning to white mist. She walked on, thin slippers lost long ago in the snow. Bare feet touched the ice, bleeding slightly. But she did not cry, not because she was strong, but because her tears had dried long ago, from the day her mother left, from when her grandmother passed in the attic, and from when her father's shouts became the only sound in the night. Time passed. Snow thickened. Wind cut deeper. The street emptied. Anna turned into a small alley, where walls blocked part of the bitter wind. She sat down, hugging her knees, clutching the matchbox. A horse-drawn carriage passed, wheels crushing the snow, noise echoing, then fading. The city seemed asleep. Only the tiny girl remained, lost in the white expanse. Must sell all the matches, or else. Her father's words rang in her head like a sentence. She looked down at the small matches, neatly lined, silently waiting. They were her only hope, the thin thread between life and death. Yet the cold felt like it would cut through her skin. every breath painful in her chest. She feared returning home, afraid of beatings, angry eyes, shouts. But here in the snow, it was colder than any fear. A strong gust whipped through, scattering fine snow over her hair and shoulders. Anna shivered, curling up, hands clutching the box as if embracing her whole tiny world. Eyes half closed. Eyes half closed. Christmas music drifted faintly, as if from another world. A world of warmth, homes, belonging. Anna looked up. Snow fell. Flakes melted on her lashes, turning to water. She did not know if it was snow or tears. Amid the vast cold, the girl was a mere speck, fragile enough that one more gust of wind could erase her from the world. Yet her eyes still shone, a faint light, flickering like a candle refusing to die. If you like, I can continue the next chapters in this same immersive, poetic style, so the full story unfolds beautifully, preserving Anna's warmth, hope, and magical light. Chapter 3. The Matches of Hope. The night grew ever deeper. The sky had darkened into a vast black velvet, with only a few tiny stars scattered across it, weakly twinkling as if shivering from the cold. The wind no longer howled violently, but it was colder, slipping into every crack, seeping through every strand of hair, as if trying to freeze every breath. In a narrow alley, where two old walls met, little Anna huddled. The thin coat on her body barely kept the cold away. Her tiny feet had lost all feeling. Only her breath puffed out white smoke, disappearing into the night. She hugged her matchbox tightly to her chest. Inside was her entire livelihood, her one chance to keep her father from anger. But more than anything, it was the only thing that could give her a little warmth. I must sell all of these matches. Her father's harsh words echoed in her head, cold as the wind outside. Anna clenched her fists, her lips turning purple. She knew that returning home empty-handed would bring punishment again, just like before. She looked at the tiny matches in her hand, all the same, pale wooden sticks, darkened tips. Yet now, to her eyes, they seemed to glow. A faint light, fragile, but full of hope. The wind blew harder. The wind blew harder. A large snowflake landed on her hand, melting into water. The cold made her shiver. Anna raised her stiff hand to her mouth, trying to warm it with her breath. In vain. The cold seeped deeper, into every bone and joint. She looked around. No one. Only the empty street, distant lights blurred by mist, and the faint tolling of the church bells. The city still celebrated the new year, full of joy, but here there was only Anna and the night. Anna whispered, just a little warmth." She opened her matchbox and drew a match. Strike! The flame flared, a tiny, trembling light in the wind. Anna bent over, shielding the flame with her hands. The fire was warm, its golden light spread over her pale skin, coloring her cheeks faintly pink. For a moment, she imagined standing before a large fireplace. The flames danced and crackled, sending warmth all around. Inside, glowing logs threw sparks like tiny stars. Anna held out her small hands, feeling the heat, smiling. Warmth spread through her body as if someone had wrapped her in a blanket. The light reflected in her eyes like stars. She exhaled softly. The flame seemed to understand, swaying with her breath. And then, flick, the flame went out. The fireplace disappeared. All that remained was the cold wall, the white snow, the wind whistling through the alley. Anna stared at the thin wisp of smoke, lips trembling. She wanted to keep the warmth, but she couldn't. She lit a second match. The fire flared, stronger, brighter. Before her appeared a large, warm room. A table with a white cloth, a golden roasted goose in the center, filling the air with its sweet aroma. Next to it, a glass of orange juice, bread, fruit, and candles shimmering softly. She smelled it, the rich aroma of roasted meat, sweetness, abundance, things she had only dared to dream. She heard a gentle, familiar voice. "Anna, come here. Eat before it gets cold." Tears filled her eyes. It was her mother with a kind smile, golden hair, and hands that used to stroke her hair every night. Anna ran forward, reaching out to embrace, to touch, but the flame went out. The table vanished. Only the smoke remained, cold and bitter. Only she remained, alone in the dark. Panting, heart racing, emptiness flooded her chest. She struck a third match. The flame flared. This time, a Christmas tree appeared, tall, radiant. Glass ornaments glittered, lights reflected across the walls. At its base, gifts stacked, one labeled, "For Anna." She smiled, eyes shining brighter than the lights. She reached for the box, but flake, the flame died. The light vanished. Darkness returned, deeper, heavier. Anna looked up. Among the night, a shooting star streaked across, leaving a faint trail. She smiled faintly, voice trembling. "Grandma, you said when a star falls, someone goes to God, right?" Her voice was small, a lost prayer in the snow. She hugged the matchbox, eyes shimmering. Something inside her, a longing, a hope, like that shooting star, touched and gone. The wind blew again. She shivered. The cold bit into her flesh. Yet inside, the flame of the matches had not completely gone out. They still shone, in memory, in dreams, in the tiny remnant of her childhood. Anna closed her eyes. Though every match had burned, the images, fireplace, feast, Christmas tree, mother, still shone inside her. As if they had never been illusions. As if with just a little more belief, that light could warm the whole winter. Chapter 4. The Light of a Dream. The night had not yet ended, but the sky had turned a dull grey blue. Snow continued to fall. Silently, like feathers, the city seemed buried beneath winter's cold blanket. In the narrow alley, little Anna still sat, shivering in her thin coat, hands purple, clutching her small matchbox. The matches were half gone. Each had illuminated a dream, but taken a bit more warmth, a bit more life. The wind howled past the walls, tossing her tangled hair. Snowflakes landed on her eyelids, melting into cold streams down her cheeks. Anna did not wipe them. She gazed up at the grey sky, where a shooting star had just streaked. "Grandma," she whispered, barely a breath. "I miss you so much." Her grandmother, the only one who had ever held her, stroked her hair and told her bedtime stories. The one who had said, "If you believe, even a single little match can light up all the darkness." Anna drew another match. This time her hands did not shake. The flame burst bright, brighter than before, like a small star blazing in the night. And then, like magic, the cold wall vanished. A Christmas tree appeared, towering and radiant. Glass ornaments reflected countless colors. Candles flickered like stars. Ribbons hung lightly, and presents stacked beneath the tree. One box bore her name, Anna. Her mouth fell open, eyes sparkling. She stepped closer, her bare feet on strangely warm ground. The wind vanished, no cold remained, only the scent of pine candle wax and sweet treats. She reached for the box, and in that instant her heart felt like it might burst with happiness. But flick. The flame died. The tree vanished. The light was gone. Cold returned, whether from the cold or loneliness she could not tell. Her lips moved. Grandma, you were right. When stars fall, someone goes to God. But will God take me too? No answer came. Only the whistling wind and the distant church bells echoed. Anna struck another match. The flame blazed, strong and brilliant. And in that light, her grandmother appeared. She stood there in a gray wool cloak, face kind, silver hair glowing in the firelight. Her smile, gentle as moonlight, her eyes, warm as spring. Anna, my dear. Her voice rang softly, full of love. Anna wept. She could not contain herself, running to embrace her. Grandma, don't go. Stay with me. I'm cold. Her grandmother bent down, stroking her hair softly, voice like a whispering wind. It's okay, my child. I'm here. I'm here with you. Anna rested her head against her chest, feeling the heartbeat warm and real, like a gentle drum in the night. All the cold, hunger, and loneliness dissolved. Only warmth and love remained. She smiled, tears mixing with her breath, but the flame eventually dwindled. The light dimmed. Don't go. Please don't go. She struck another match. The flame burned brighter than ever. Her grandmother appeared again, clearer, more radiant, arms outstretched, light surrounding them like a delicate mist. My child, she whispered, it's time. You need not fear any more. No more cold, no more hunger. Come with me. Anna smiled. A small, gentle smile, like falling snow. She nodded. The flame blazed, illuminating the alley. 2 figures, one small, one large, dissolved into the light, rising like wisps of smoke. The wind stopped. The city fell silent. Above, the sky cleared, unusually bright. A new star shone, glittering in the night. From afar, the church bells tolled. Some said it welcomed the new year. Perhaps it also welcomed the 2 little souls, grandmother and granddaughter. Home. At the corner, only a small girl remained against the wall, cheeks flushed, lips curled in a soft smile, the burned matches still in her hand. The final light had faded, but her face remained peaceful, as if sleeping in the sweetest dream. No one knew what she dreamed that Christmas Eve, only that her face bore no pain, no fear, as if the place she went was warm, as if the light of those tiny matches had led her home. Chapter 5. The embrace of Grandma Snow continued, as soft as winter's breath. Flakes fell onto her tangled hair, melting, then turning cold. The night deepened, the wind howled, the city lay silent, lit only by distant yellow windows. Anna huddled against the wall, knees drawn, holding a match in her trembling hands. The dress had stiffened from the cold. Only a few matches remained, the last few in this long, bitter night. Part of her wanted to save them. Her father would punish her if she returned empty-handed. But another part, shrinking from the cold, whispered, "Just one more, Anna. Just a little warmth." She inhaled deeply and struck a match. Flame flickered, warm yellow spreading across her purple fingers. And there, through the misty glow, her grandmother appeared. Silver hair, kind eyes, familiar face and voice, gentle as a long-forgotten dream. "Anna," her grandmother said softly, Anna burst into tears, rushing forward, but her hands passed through the light. "Grandma, don't go." "Stay with me," she sobbed. The flame flickered and went out. Her grandmother vanished. Anna was left with darkness. The alley cold, merciless, blank. She looked at the burned match, smoke rising. A small thread, the last breath of hope. She drew another match. Her grandmother appeared again. Closer, clearer, warmer. She held out her arms. Anna feared closing her eyes, afraid her grandmother would vanish. "Grandma, I'm cold." "I'm scared of the dark. I'm scared of the dark." Her grandmother knelt, embracing her. This time it was real. No illusion, no wind through empty hands. Anna felt warmth she had long forgotten. Her grandmother said nothing, only stroked her hair, a gentle rhythm like olden days. A tear fell onto Anna's hand, hers or her grandmother's, she could not tell. "You've suffered enough," her grandmother said softly. "Now, you needn't fear. Here, there is no cold, no hunger. No one to make you cry." Anna looked into her grandmother's eyes, seeing the sky within them. Stars fell lightly, like sleep itself. "Let's go, Anna," her grandmother whispered. The little girl gripped her grandmother's hand, small fingers intertwined with warm, familiar ones. She lit another match, then another. The flame brightened the alley. Snowflakes melted in the golden light. Passers-by may have only seen a tiny glowing spot in the winter night, fragile, small, but radiant as a falling star. Anna smiled, eyes glistening. She saw her mother across the snowy street, waving warmly. Her grandmother held her hand, guiding her onto a path free of darkness. The wind ceased. The church bells rang far away, like a farewell song to winter. "Come on, Anna." "Let's go, my dear." Anna nodded, closing her eyes. The flame faded, but her face shone, brighter than any star. Chapter 6. The Dawn of Freedom. The first morning of the new year came silently. But the city remained a frozen white, roofs like little hills, the sun weakly peeking through thick clouds. The first light was faint, like a fragile breath in the air. In the narrow street near the square, where people usually gathered on New Year's Eve, only a few footprints remained. In a corner, against the wall, a small figure curled up in the frost, a little girl. Her messy hair covered her face, arms clutching the empty matchbox. The first to notice her was a milkwoman. She called softly, but got no reply. Bending closer, all sound seemed to vanish. The girl had slept, a long sleep. Her small face still held a smile, lips slightly curved, cheeks flushed against the cold, eyelashes dusted with snow. The burned matches smoldered faintly, remnants of the last light in the dark. The milkwoman sat, brushing snow from her shoulders. "Oh, Lord," she whispered. The poor child. Frozen. Others stopped. A man draped his coat over her. A woman prayed beside her. But no one knew. The girl had, in her final moments, found something rare, warmth. Elsewhere, in a space where light did not come from the sun, Anna opened her eyes. All around was white, but not cold. No wind, no bitter whistling, only soft light, gentle as silk, light as breath. Before her stood her grandmother, smiling kindly, arms open as they had waited for years. "Grandma," Anna whispered. "I'm here, my dear," her grandmother replied. Anna ran into her embrace. Warmth spread, not from the match fire, but gentle, enduring, infinite. "Grandma, did I die?" Her grandmother placed a hand on her hair, voice soft as the wind. "No, Anna, you've just left the cold. Here, there is no pain, no hunger, no fear. No is no pain, no hunger." Anna looked up. Above, a clear sky opened. No clouds, no snow. Thousands of tiny streaks of light twinkled like breathing stars. Far off, other souls walked lightly, smiling, free of darkness. "Where is this, Grandma?" "A place where everyone finds peace, my dear." Hand in hand, they walked. Snow beneath turned to light. On the ground, people still whispered around her small body. "Poor thing, she must be dreaming a beautiful dream." The sunlight broke through clouds, touching her face softly. A young soldier removed his cap, bowing. An old woman placed a candle and a white rose beside her. They did not know the girl was smiling in the light. Elsewhere, Anna walked with her grandmother across a luminous snowy field. A shooting star fell, leaving a trail like a road to heaven. "See that star?" her grandmother said. "That's your mother. She's watching over you, waiting." Anna stopped, tears streaming, but no longer in pain. She saw her mother at the end of the path. Smiling warmly, she ran to her, grandmother holding her hand. Together, they stepped into the light. The wind carried scents of baked goods, laughter, evenings by the old fireplace. Everything was real now, not an illusion. In the city, church bells rang, marking the new year. Life continued, clearing snow, opening shops. Only the corner where the little match girl had sat remained marked, a place where light once flickered in the dark. No one knew her name, no one knew her story. But that morning, sunlight reflected on the matchbox at her side, small, inanimate, yet a witness to the power of a single match. Sometimes, one little match is enough to light the darkest sky, for the coldest thing in the world is never snow, but a heart that forgets how to love. As night fell again, a passerby heard the wind whisper, "Sleep, Anna. Sleep peacefully." And amidst the falling snow, perhaps, the little girl smiled once more. The wind was soft that evening, moving like a sigh across the endless fields of the new world. Beyond the fading horizon, the last rays of sunlight melted into the amber of the grasslands, while a lonely figure walked westward, his silhouette long and thin under the weight of a sky that seemed too vast for one man to cross. His name was Johnny, though most people would later call him Johnny Appleseed. No one truly knew where he came from. Some said he was born under a comet. Others whispered he had once been a preacher who lost his voice. But the truth was simpler. Johnny carried a dream inside him, small, fragile, yet unyielding. In his worn satchel were not gold coins, nor maps, nor tools of trade, but apple seeds. Hundreds of them. They clicked gently in rhythm with his steps, like tiny heartbeats, reminders of something pure that the world had not yet forgotten. Every night, as he camped by the riverside or beneath the trembling stars, Johnny would speak softly to the seeds, as if they could hear him. "You'll grow," he'd say, "even where men see only wilderness. You'll grow because you must." The frontier was still wild, then untamed, uncertain and vast. Forests stretched like a green ocean, unbroken by fences or roads. Wolves howled through the dark. The rivers shimmered like silver threads beneath the moon. And in that wilderness, Johnny saw not danger, but promise. To him, every tree was a companion, every breeze a prayer. They said the frontier belonged to those who could conquer it, with rifles, axes, and sweat. But Johnny never conquered. He simply walked, barefoot, through snow and mud, carrying with him the quiet rebellion of kindness. Where others saw land to claim, he saw soil to heal. Where others built walls, he planted roots. As seasons turned and years dissolved like mist, people began to speak of him, this wandering man with gentle eyes, wearing a tin pot as a hat, who never asked for shelter yet left orchards blooming in his wake. To some, he was a fool. To others, a saint. But to Johnny, he was neither. He was only a traveler between dreams and earth, trying to leave something sweet behind before the wind took him away. The story begins where the rivers bend westward, and where a man, carrying only seeds and faith, walks into the unknown, believing that one small act of goodness could one day shade an entire world. Acti, naming the dream. The dawn of the wilderness was unlike anywhere else. It carried no church bells, no smell of baked bread, no passing voices. There was only wind, open fields stretching endlessly, and the dim morning light falling like dew upon the grass. Johnny awoke in that mist, leaning against an old oak tree, beside his worn satchel of apple seeds. Every morning, as his eyes slowly opened, he saw the world waiting for him to begin again. No one knew why he left his hometown. Some whispered that Johnny once had a small house, a girl he loved, and a tiny orchard where apples blossomed each spring. But then came war, disease, or perhaps simply the changing of people's hearts, and he set off. One gray afternoon, he slung his bag over his shoulder, said goodbye to the past, and turned westward, toward the place where the sun still promised hope. The journey was not easy. Some days, rain poured relentlessly, soaking him to the bone. Some nights, he had only the sound of insects and the flickering firelight for warmth. Yet in that solitude, Johnny felt a strange peace. He believed that every step was a prayer, every seed dropped into the earth was a dream planted. Sometimes, on the road, he would stop in the middle of an empty field, dig a small hole, drop a few seeds in, and cover them lightly. He did not wait for them to sprout. He did not need to see the results. He did not need to see the results. One day, he often said, "A child will find shade here to play. A lover will have white blossoms fall in their hair." And then he would move on, quietly, as if the wind carried him forward. Occasionally, Johnny came to a small village, where people looked at him with suspicion. A wanderer with a tin pot on his head, barefoot, speaking of apples and dreams. Who could believe him? Yet when he smiled, soft and kind, and handed them a few seeds, his voice as gentle as a cloud, he would say, "Just plant them, the rest belongs to earth and sky." Children loved to hear his stories. He told them that every apple seed had a soul, that it could remember, love, and wait. He said that if one day they came upon an apple tree in the forest, they should bow in gratitude, for perhaps someone had passed that way before them. His words, simple as a breath, carried something that made people fall silent, as if a part of their hearts had been sown alongside the seeds. One evening, as Johnny rested by the Ohio River, he noticed Native Americans lighting fires in the distance. They watched him cautiously. He said nothing, only took a handful of seeds from his satchel and placed them gently on the ground, then stepped back. The chief approached, studied him long, then nodded quietly. From that day on, whenever he passed through their lands, he was welcomed with smiles and the scent of roasted corn. Johnny never stayed long in any place. He knew his dream had no destination, only a path. Every day, he walked a little further, planting a few more seeds. At night, he looked up at the stars. "You need no money, no fame, no home. What are you seeking on this road?" He smiled, eyes distant. I seek nothing. I only wish that when I pass, the land will be softer, the wind gentler, and the apples sweeter for others. It was the first, and also the last, time people heard him speak of his dream. As the sun set behind the mountains, his shadow blended with the twilight, leaving only streaks of light on the fields, as if his dream continued onward, beyond the bounds of human existence. And somewhere, a small apple sprout quietly emerged, greeting the first morning of its life. Johnny continued along the road that never seemed to end, through wild fields, dense forests, and rivers, glimmering under the moonlight. Every day, he encountered sights he had never seen before. Children laughing in open meadows, deer gliding through mountain valleys, flocks of birds skimming low over the lakes. Yet challenges came silently, as if the earth itself were testing him. Heavy rains pounded his back, soaking his clothes and his satchel of seeds. Snow blanketed the ground, chilling his calloused bare feet to numbness. Once, when crossing an ancient forest, thunder cracked across the sky, and wind howled through towering trees as if trying to sweep him away. Johnny bent low, clutching his bag of seeds, whispering to himself, "The apple seeds will live, and I will live. I only need to keep walking." Along the way, he met many kinds of people. Pioneers building homes on barren land, merchants quietly passing along red dirt roads, and Native American tribes living deep in the forest. Each encounter reflected the America that was forming. Wild yet full of opportunity, beautiful yet harsh. With each person he met, Johnny left a seed, a silent reminder that the world could still be gentle, even as it underwent storms and changes. Some nights he slept outdoors beneath thick canopies, listening to the predators of the forest nearby. One night, sitting by an old tree, he heard distant wolves howling. In the darkness, he held his satchel of seeds and whispered, "Every seed is a promise. I am not alone if the earth can hear me." At sunrise, snow still covered his shoulders, but Johnny stood and continued walking, as if fear had never existed. The long days on the road wore on his body, but his heart remained steadfast. He understood that the greatest trials were not the forces of nature, but human doubt, suspicion, and prejudice. Some looked at him with disdain. A man with a tin pot on his head, walking barefoot, scattering seeds everywhere. He must be crazy. But Johnny only smiled, knowing that those like him did not need to convince anyone. What he planted would grow in its own time, in its own way. One afternoon, Johnny stopped at a small village under construction. Villagers watched him carefully as he placed a few seeds in a patch of bare earth by the well. A curious boy ran up and asked, "What are you doing?" Johnny bent down, his eyes gentle, and answered, "I'm planting dreams. One day, someone will rest in their shade, taste their sweetness, long after I have gone." "Yo!" The boy looked at him, wide-eyed, not fully understanding, but feeling the warmth that radiated from the man. Johnny continued his journey. He crossed wide rivers, sometimes wading through ice-cold water, stepping on sharp stones and thick mud with his bare feet. One day, he came across a family of immigrants camping in a field. They looked at him warily, and he nodded, handed them a few seeds, and walked on. No explanations, no pleading, only the quiet act of giving, as natural as the wind passing through the grass. Along the way, Johnny learned to hear the whispers of nature, the flowing water, the rustling leaves, the low flight of birds. All told him that every small act had a result. He learned patience, how to wait. An apple seed lying in the earth might take years to sprout, but Johnny never hurried. He believed in the natural cycle, in the arrival of good things at the right time. Once, resting by a deserted riverbank, he wrote in the soil, "Every step is a prayer. Every seed is an untold story." Then he rose and walked on, leaving footprints and apple seeds behind, small but full of hope. Years passed, And Johnny not only endured the harshness of nature, but also the loneliness of the road. In every forest, field, and village, he found moments of connection, a child's smile, a grateful glance from an adult. The bird song at dawn. He realized that the greatest trials were not storms or snow, but believing in goodness in a world often harsh and cold. And yet he also encountered mockery, people who did not believe in his dream. A merchant once said, "You scatter seeds without watching them. What good will it do? They will die before you can see them." Johnny smiled, eyes distant. "I plant for tomorrow, not today. What I sow will live in its own way, even if I am no longer here." Through harsh winters and radiant springs, Johnny walked on, never resting, never complaining. He traversed the frontier, planting seeds, watching them merge with the earth, believing that one day these seeds would grow into orchards, providing shade, fruit, joy for children's eyes, and smiles for passers-by. Though weary, cold, and hungry, Johnny never gave up. He knew that the path he had chosen was not easy, but it was the path that would plant goodness in the world. Every step, every apple seed was a reminder. Hope exists, faith never disappears, and the world can still be gentle if one knows how to wait. As night fell, Johnny lay beneath a tree, listening to the wind singing, the river flowing, and the insects murmuring. He smiled, feeling the presence of all living things around him, and understood that it was the trials, loneliness, and hardships that taught him how to love, how to be patient, and how to see beauty in the smallest things. Somewhere, in the quiet forest, a tiny apple seed cracked open, a green sprout emerging from the earth. It felt Johnny's steps fade into the distance and began its own dream, a dream of shade, blossoms, and hope spreading quietly across the land. Johnny continued walking, but now each step felt heavier, not only because of his tired body, but because time had begun to leave its mark on his hair and in his deep eyes. The forests he had passed through had changed. The rivers he once crossed flowed longer in the memories of the people, and where he had sown seeds, the young apple trees were now sprouting, lush and promising sweet fruit in the seasons to come. One afternoon, he stopped to look at the apple groves he had planted. Golden sunlight fell on the leaves, sparkling like tiny crystals. The rustling of leaves in the wind was a gentle melody, and Johnny realized that he had planted not just apple seeds, but hope, faith, and patience. Those trees now provided shade for children to play, sweet fruit for passers-by, a place for people to pause, breathe, and smile. But for Johnny himself, those trees also reminded him of his solitude. He had no home, no family to return to, only feet that kept walking on a road that never ended. He looked at the distant villages, heard children laughing, and realized that he had become part of the land, part of what he had sown, yet he did not truly belong anywhere. He thought of his past, of the days when he was young and dreamed of a family, a bright home. Those dreams were now only gentle memories, like smoke drifting through the morning mist. Johnny understood that the price of living, according to his dream, was loneliness, but in return, he had sown something far greater than himself, a spiritual legacy, a journey others would continue. He passed through villages where people were now familiar with Johnny's presence. They no longer saw him as a strange man, but as a natural part of life. Children ran to greet him, their eyes wide with wonder, as if witnessing a miracle. Adults looked at him with respect and gratitude. Johnny merely smiled, bowed slightly, and kept walking, still sowing seeds, still spreading hope. One day, Johnny stood in a wide field, looking at rows of apple trees stretching far and wide, their branches spreading shade. He bent down, picked an apple, inhaled its gentle fragrance, and placed his hand on the soil. In that moment, he felt the life within the trees, the life within the earth, the life within the seeds he had planted. He realized that legacy was not just the apple trees, but the connection between people and nature, between past and present, between dreams and reality. Yet legacy also carried a quiet sadness. Johnny watched young children playing under the trees he had planted, knowing that one day he would not be there to see them grow. He would not witness the blossoms in spring, the ripe fruit being picked, the joyful laughter. He accepted this because his dream was not for himself, but for those who would come after. With every step, he left a part of himself in the soil, in the trees, in the wind. Yet he took from himself the comfort of home, the closeness, the private peace. In the final years of his journey, Johnny walked more slowly, his feet aching, but his eyes still bright and his heart warm. He stopped at a village where children were picking fruit from young trees. A little girl looked at him, eyes wide, and asked, "Did you plant these seeds?" Johnny nodded, eyes distant. "Yes. They will grow, and they will show others the goodness in the world." The girl smiled and ran off to tell her friends, and Johnny quietly continued walking. No need for recognition, no need for credit. Every autumn, when the apples ripened, Johnny walked familiar roads, inhaling the scent of fruit on the breeze, feeling life abound, and understanding that true value lay not in being remembered, but in what had been sown and continued after him. He knew that every seed was a reminder of hope, patience, and faith, that even if people leave, nature preserves their memory, and the world becomes better through small acts of goodness. Johnny once stood atop a high hill, looking at the endless apple orchards, and told himself that every tree, every fruit, every leaf was a part of his soul that had merged with the earth. He belonged nowhere, yet had become a part of everywhere. He smiled, feeling peace, yet carrying a gentle weight of loneliness. The price of living according to the dream he believed in. And so he kept walking. Every step, every apple seed that fell to the ground was a mark of sacrifice and patience. He knew his legacy would not be just the apple trees, but the spreading faith, the seed of goodness in a still wild world. Johnny understood that the value of life does not lie in recognition, but in planting kindness, in blending with nature and life, leaving something good for those who will come after. As night fell, Johnny sat by a tree, looking at the golden apples in the moonlight, knowing that the seeds he planted had sprouted in the hearts of others, and he continued walking, gently as the wind, leaving the traces of a life dissolved into earth and time. Johnny walked more slowly than ever. Autumn had arrived, bringing not only the crisp chill in the air, but also the final apples, glowing red under the pale sunlight. The fields where he had planted seeds many years ago had now become vast apple orchards, their branches spreading shade, their ripe fruits rolling on the ground, reminding him of the long journey of his life. He stopped beside an old apple tree, its leaves swaying with the wind. Johnny bent down, placed his hand on the trunk, and felt life flowing through each branch, root, and fruit. He recalled the first days of his journey westward, when everything was an open sky and untamed fields untouched by anyone. He remembered the snow, the pounding rain, the cold nights, and the muddy paths. But all those hardships, all those trials, had now crystallized into these autumn apples, these lush trees, and the seeds that would grow for future generations. A breeze passed, carrying the scent of damp earth and sweet apples. Johnny closed his eyes, inhaling deeply, feeling each breath merge with the surrounding nature. He realized that this final apple season was not only a harvest for others, but also a harvest for his own soul. The trees, the fruits, were reminders of patience, unconditional love, and the value of planting goodness. Children from nearby villages ran up, picking apples and laughing. Adults watched them, then looked at Johnny with eyes full of gratitude. A little girl ran to him, holding up an apple. "Sir, this one is delicious." Johnny smiled. his eyes sparkling yet carrying a gentle sadness. He knew that one day he would no longer be here to see the apple seasons, the smiles, the children's footsteps. Yet he accepted it, for true value lies not in witnessing, but in sowing and letting life continue. Johnny sat down beside the largest apple tree, gazing at the red, ripe fruit above. He thought of all the people he had met along the way, the rainy days, the freezing nights. He realized that all these experiences, all the hardships and loneliness, had shaped him and had helped him plant seeds not only in the soil, but also in the hearts of others. As the sun set, painting the sky with pale orange, Johnny looked out over the endless apple orchards. He knew that this final harvest marked the end of a long journey, but also the beginning of new stories, new hopes. The apple seeds he had planted would continue to grow, providing shade, sweet fruit, and joy for children and strangers passing through this world. In that quiet moment, Johnny felt a gentle loneliness spread through his heart, yet also a profound peace. He had lived, he had walked, he had planted, and finally, he saw his legacy before him. The apple seasons, the green trees, the ripe fruit, all were part of him, but also a gift to the world, to those who would follow in his footsteps. He stood, walking slowly through the orchard, leaving his footprints beside the old apple trees. The wind blew, the leaves rustled, apples rolled across the ground. Johnny smiled, knowing that his journey was complete, but the seeds, the trees, and the faith in a better world would continue to live on. He continued toward the horizon, gently as the wind, merging with the earth and sky, leaving the trace of a life dissolved into nature and time, like a story that never ends. And as night fell, the apple trees quietly swayed in the wind, as if whispering Johnny's story to the world, about patience, about faith, about sacrifice, and about the unconditional love that one human being could plant for life itself.